I came across some polling about the no-fly zone over Ukraine that I find to be very interesting. So this isn't just about the no-fly zone, but it gives you an indication about how opinions change depending on how much information is given in the question. Now, that should be obvious, but think of how often media relies on public opinion polling to dictate how people feel about certain issues. Well, if those questions aren't asked properly or people aren't given the right information, then those polls mean absolutely nothing. So there has been a lot of polling up to this point showing that the vast majority of Americans support a no-fly zone over Ukraine, even though that would mean the U.S. shooting down Russian planes, meaning a war with Russia. Well, finally, a pollster asked this question in two different ways, and they got two very different responses. So CBS News here, this is the way we are normally seeing the question asked, asking no-fly zone over Ukraine, support or oppose. So 59% of people in the CBS News poll support the no-fly zone, while 41% oppose. But they asked the question a little differently, with this one saying no fly zone over Ukraine if it's viewed as active war. Look at the shift. 38% support, 62% oppose. A dramatic shift in the opposite direction here, showing that when you give people more information about what this actually means, it actually informs their opinion and they change their mind. So before I even get to another example of this, I just want to say that this is, people often blanketly blame society generally for people being, uninformed, unintelligent, stupid, but it's not their fault. People have busy lives. They have things to do. They don't know what's going on all the time, obviously. This is why people are shaped simply by the media they consume. So if they're consuming media that keeps talking about a no-fly zone and keeps saying how it's this option that should be considered, and they're showing polls like this showing more people support a no-fly zone, then people are going to think, oh, maybe we should have a no-fly zone over Ukraine. But when you tell them what that actually means, that it means war with Russia, the U.S. going to war with Russia, well, all of a sudden, their opinion on this changes. So, and again, it goes to showing that the media that people consume is the reason why they are uninformed or informed in some cases, depending on what they're reading or watching. But for the vast majority of, at least right now, mainstream press, you often don't get the reality of what is actually going on. Now, another example of this. So this is a poll from 2020 from the Kaiser Family Foundation on Medicare for All. So let's go to this first one here. Terminology affects public opinion on national health plan. Do you have a positive or negative reaction to each of the following terms? Universal health coverage, 63% positive. Medicare for all, again, 63% positive. National health care plan, 59. Single payer health insurance system, 49. Socialized medicine, 46. These are all the same thing. True universal health care coverage is either Medicare for all or a true national system like the NHS in the UK. But regardless, that is what universal coverage is. That gets a very positive response, as does Medicare for all, as there has been a lot more information out about Medicare for all since really Bernie Sanders popularized it back in 2016. So people see these things as the same. But then you go down to like socialized medicine. The word socialism is not popular for the vast majority, especially older generations. Younger generations is a lot different. I'm sure if you looked at the age breakdown here, you would see younger generations have no issue with socialized medicine. But still, by and large, you're seeing a drop-off there because there has been this negative connotation associated with socialism. So socialized medicine is bad, even though it's all the same thing. So again, it's all in the framing of questions. So whenever you're looking at a poll, whether it's on healthcare, whether it's on Ukraine, whatever it is, look at what the actual question is and see if enough information is actually presented in the question for people to have a educated response to it. Another example from this same poll here. This one I find really interesting. So they say, most expect taxes to increase, deductibles and copays to continue under both Medicare for all and under a public option. So percent who say each of the following would happen under a national health plan, sometimes called Medicare for all. So the green one here. I want you to focus on this one in particular. So people would continue to pay deductibles and copays when they use healthcare services. 61% of people think under a Medicare for all system that you would still have to pay deductibles and copays under under Medicare for all. Why? No, you don't. But Americans have been indoctrinated to this system, this private for-profit healthcare system where they can't even imagine a world where they were able to just walk into, a doctor's office and walk out without having to do anything else, without having to pay an insurance company, without having to pay afterwards, or, that process is eliminated completely under a Medicare for all system. But Americans are so used to their current system that they can't even imagine not having to pay for anything. But also, same goes for the question here about individuals and employers would continue to pay health insurance premiums. 44%, almost half of people think that you would still have to pay health insurance premiums under a Medicare for all system. Again, showing you how people have been stuck in a certain way of thinking, and it's hard for them to get out of it, which often goes to inform or misinform their opinions on these various issues, which also goes to my other point here. Public polling is just one data point. Public polling should not drive policy. If something is very popular, it doesn't mean that it should be done, like we saw with the first poll about the no-fly zone. Or because something is unpopular, it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be done. You have to, as a political leader or as somebody in the media, it is your job to inform people about what is and isn't good, what they should and shouldn't support. So to simply go with the wind as somebody in the media and looking at a poll about, a no-fly zone over Ukraine and thinking, or saying, look at all these people support this. It is your job as someone in the media to say, this is why they should not support this. This is what they should have been told in that poll and why these people are wrong to think this. Or when it comes to, Medicare for all and you're a political leader, if you think it's not popular, first of all, most polling at this point does show Medicare for all is in majority popularity. But apart from that, it is your job as a political leader to tell people why you should want a Medicare for all system and why it would benefit your life, as opposed to moving with the wind and looking at, maybe a Fox News poll showing it's not popular, even though it actually is. But even apart from that, if it's not popular, you should still support it for this and this and this. So, it's just important to be aware that what people are reading, what they are watching, how certain questions are framed means everything when it comes to people's opinions on these various issues. And if they aren't given the proper information, oftentimes they will choose a result that they themselves would not support if they knew everything about that decision.